Nayasti hutawaitua karawaktuqita aka yusadarmi kapiyetiqiri kamaste aromdani usmawata pachani chay pakatartina inayan sutijaste Vicente Arias Satao Pastor.
As we worship today, we remember our brothers and sisters who are worshiping elsewhere throughout the world. Inspire each of us to work more faithfully for justice and dignity of life everywhere.
Raise our vision above the barriers of color, culture, and creed that separate us. Give us wisdom as we deal with one another. Help us to recognize and to respect different ways rather than to judge.
Just as I was graduating, a friend who was a missionary in Bolivia asked me if I would like to go to Bolivia to teach home economics in the American Institute in La Paz. And I thought it was a wonderful opportunity. I thought I could influence girls there.
Much to my mother and father's amazement and bewilderment, I married a pacifist and I went to the mission field. But we got there. We were told first we'd go to Panama, so we stopped in Panama, and they said, "No, you're not going to be here. We were told you're supposed to go to Lima." This was the beginning of World War II, and very difficult information wire. And so we went to Lima, thinking that we would work in the school there at Lima, and they said, "No, you're supposed to go up to La Paz or Cochabamba."
The Methodist Church at that time appointed us. We didn't have any part in the decision making as to where we would go. So they said, "We want you to go to Bolivia." So we did. I said we'd like to go to Northern Africa to, I've forgotten what country, but it was a French-speaking country, because at that time I spoke French and I wanted to be in a French-speaking country. But they didn't take into consideration my wishes. They sent us where they felt we could be used the best, and that was Bolivia at that time.
So we had 3 preschoolers, and I was 27 and Gary was 31, which at that time was considered a little old to be starting out in the mission field.
and there was a Nestor Piñaranda, Aymara speaking minister who had the little church, El Redentor, way up in the mountains, in the market area of La Paz.
Naranjita, pinta, pintita, naranjita, pinta, pintita, te he de robar de tu quinta, si no es esta nochecita, mañana por la mañanita. Te he de robar de tu quinta, si no es esta nochecita, mañana por la mañanita. A lo lejos se te divisa, a lo lejos se te divisa la punta de tu enagüita, la boca se me hace agüita y el corazón me palpita. La punta de tu enagüita, la boca se me hace agüita y el corazón me palpita.
Naka hotap wa portal kustokita wani lo garat ishlisha halelia sa tapat hotap doktor nanaga khang yutan arna ka piyate.
But one of the things that I remember so well was Laura's telling us, oh, it is so much fun to walk to school because they walked through some of the most crowded streets of the city of La Paz, and things were always happening.
Parents really made an effort to get their children enrolled. So for, let's say, 100 positions in kindergarten, we would have 2,000 or 3,000 applicants maybe. And our prices were not cheap. They weren't the most expensive in town, but they weren't cheap. So we gave 10% scholarship to poor students, and that was a good thing, I think.
el grito de la rebelión. Soy Murillo, dice con orgullo, ante la junta tuitiva, soy aquel que cautiva los sueños de la rebelión.
We were social action, so we went out really as social workers, and that was a whole new doctrine, really.
And serving there in the Bolivian church, I was proud to serve with that church because I found it was a church that was preaching the gospel, reaching out to the Amerindians. Indians. In fact, the majority of the Bolivian Methodist Church is composed of an Indian tribe there called the Amerindians. Indians. And they were reaching out to those people not only with the gospel in the sense of preaching the word, but also in social action, in health, in education, and in agrarian health.
So he came back from Bolivia, and he asked me for a date, and we'd written 2 religious dramas together, and I toured with them with a choral speaking choir for the Wesley Foundation. And so we had become very dear friends. Well, I was secret in love with him all the time.
I remember one year a general had tried to enroll his son in the kindergarten. And I said, well, I'm sorry, sir, but just didn't meet the criteria enough, and we have so many applicants and so forth. And he kept getting sort of agitated as the discussion went on. Finally, he whipped out his pickle and put it on the desk and said, there, is that enough? Well, I was scared out of my britches, so his son got in. I wasn't going to take any chances.
Hello, my name is David. Tomorrow our church group is going on a hike to the Muela del Diablo. In other words, the Devil's Tooth. It's a hunk of mountain way off there, and we've got to go to the last bus stop in the city.
There was a missionary named Bessie Beck, and she was married to a doctor in La Paz. And Bessie Beck was an institution in her own right. They had been missionaries, and they built the clinic in La Paz.
We were there 33 years, and during that time we used the services of the American Clinic in La Paz a great deal, and we accumulated 5 children.
Este hermano me dijo esta mañana que fue operado por el Dr. Beck en 1952. ¿Okay? Seguimos su nombre primero.
Mateo Paucara, Cajiata, Lugarata, Ancoraimintoa, y Nayaste y Sansuti Pampearon Tansman Doctor Mach Omar Chasimaya, Kunoteje Wasarichurun, Kespesta Kawarake Nukau, Humaru Kam Sumarun, Nuesman, Charatun.
En el nombre del Señor pido que se sane y que bendiga a Dios a su familia. Y ahora mi nombre, soy Rosa Quispe.
The nurse would bring you a basin of water with alcohol on it, and they'd light the alcohol, and that would warm the water. And they had no heat.
We lived in La Paz from 1964. We were met at the boat in Arica by Ed Barber. We waited 4 days until the revolution was over. And then we were on the last plane that could land in a darkened airport at El Alto.
Quisiera, pero no puedo encontrarte entre mis sueños. Encontrarte es imposible porque tienes otro dueño. Causa tiga, causa yaita, año puyaita, pipis maipis muna soti, sobon putinchi puyaita. Causa tiga, causa yaita, año puyaita, pipis maipis muna soti, sobon putinchi puyaita.
Jack and I both went to Bolivia in 1948. Jack from Tennessee and I from Kansas. And it didn't take long before the two of us got acquainted, and end of the next year we were married. First we were in Ancoraimes, and Jack not only had churches, but he was in charge of a number of schools there.
Father was asked to start the vocational school in Ancoraimes, and mother was asked to help with the girls' school, which was one of the first girls' schools for Indian girls to attend to. And then we went to Warisata, which who was talking about Warisata, the windiest city and coldest city in the world.
Aquí estamos en Ancoraimes y con el aire cruceño te mando unos saludos muy cordiales, cariñosos.
Bueno, antes quisiera explicarle, algunos hermanos usted ha escuchado decir Iglesia Galilea, y esta es una iglesia nueva que se organizó recién el año pasado. Aquí nosotros estamos todavía sirviendo al Señor en el distrito altiplano, todavía cumpliendo con el trabajo que también usted se esmeraba en cumplir.
Los hermanos están en el cursillo de laicos y algunos para maestros. Los que están presentes en el cursillo son desde Puerto Acosta hasta Jihuacuta, casi entre Batallas y Guarina.
We were the ones that were sent to Montero out of Cochabamba.
How long were you in Montero?
About 16 years.
I remember feeding Bob donuts. I was his co-pilot, and when we drove the Jeep or trying to keep him awake. And a very, very important job to sit next to the driver on the roads.
The way I heard it was after the brakes and dodging the dump truck, Mary finally said, "Try."
Evelyn and I were in Bolivia for 9 years service, and we spent 8 of those years developing the work in Montero along with the Caulfield family. We started out with 2 missionary families and 3 Bolivian teachers, including Jaime Flores. And 10 years later, when we left Bolivia in 1966, we were extending the work over a 120-kilometer area in the greater Montero area, and we had something like 75 or 80 people directly connected with the work in the area.
Viva Santa Cruz, bella tierra de mi corazón. Tienes la virtud y el perfume de la adoración. En tu cielo azul las estrellas hablan del amor. Noches de pasión cuando se enamore Santa Cruz. Cuando me vaya, ay amorcito, he de partir llorando. Viva Santa Cruz, viva Santa Cruz. Cuando me vaya, ay amorcito, he de partir llorando. Viva Santa Cruz, viva Santa Cruz. A la luz de la luna yo quiero hablarte con el corazón.
A esa pelada yo le regalaré para su santo un sombrero de sao, pa' que se tape y me tape a mí también cuando yo la besé debajo el ocoró. A esa pelada yo le regalaré para su santo un sombrero de Saón, pa' que se tape y me tape a mí también, cuando yo la besé debajo el ocoro. Si en la tranquera me pilla su mamá, con el sombrero yo la saludaré. Oiga señora, yo le contestaré.
The pontoon got so heavy on land that it started sinking, and kids and teachers started falling to the water.
And it was sinking on the side of the river that was going down.
¿Acaso con canciones la vas a mantener? Con canciones no, señora. Con este corazón hoy soy de aquel pueblo de las flores, del valle andaluz bañado de luz ebrio de colores, del valle andaluz bañado de luz ebrio de colores. Viva mi valle florido, es jardín de amor, de rosas en flor y es un verde nido. Que es jardín de amor, de rosas en flor y es un verde nido. Por el moto Méndez, que nació en mi pueblo, canto con el alma la cueca chapaca, viva San Lorenzo. Canto con el alma la cueca chapaca, viva San Lorenzo. La ira, aira la 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 ira, aira la la la, aira la la la, aira la 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 ira. Canto con el alma la cueca chapaca. Flor de Chuquisaca, me voy de tu lado, me voy llorando porque te dejo mi pobre corazón. Me voy llorando porque te dejo mi pobre corazón. Si pudiera hablar del buen Churuqueña, te contaría lo que he sufrido por conquistar tu amor. Te contaría lo que he sufrido por conquistar tu amor. Adiós mi amor, adiós mi adorada flor, con el perfume de tu cariño voy a sobrevivir. Con el perfume de tu cariño voy a sobrevivir.
¿Cuál es esa paloma que va volando, publicando su retiro, dejando el nido? Publicando su retiro, dejando el nido.
And Mr. Smith was steady and calm, never raised his voice, and he always was right. And he was right. And Mrs. Smith had a lot to contend with.
They first had talked to about a place in Peru, and then they talked about a place in Chile, and then finally they said, "Oh, you're going to Cochabamba."
Entre las manos, como el último aliento de quien parte a la otra vida. Ay, quien pudiera tenerte para así anidar en él.
We're going to Cochabamba with the Palmeters in 2 weeks in the car. There's lots of fun. We're going to be swimming and playing on my daddy's meetings and all that.
La mañana que alumbra por ti, que ilumina mis días y en las noches tu mirada, que me queme el alma si al dormirme yo te sueño.
Well, I remember going to annual conference to Cochabamba, at least for us Highlanders, was like going to paradise. But we had to pay a big price because it was a long and dusty road.
In those days, I'd say till 70, Cochabamba and La Paz were as far as Austin, Texas from Little
I can remember we come to a landslide. I was, well, I think we'll go this way then. And I'm like, you know another way around it? Oh yeah, we'll just go. Are you making your own road?
El amor de mi vida sí se me va como el agua de la lluvia entre las manos, como el último aliento de quien parte a la otra vida.
I also remember that we often caravanned with other missionaries, and we'd stop by some scenic spot and have some sandwiches for lunch, maybe climb a hill or two for exercise.
La más hermosa, solo tengo a la aurora de la mañana que alumbra por ti, que ilumina mis días.
Oh, and finding gasoline was always a problem. I remember my dad would take a barrel of gas and he'd have to suck it down a hose, and once he got a big gulp of gasoline down his throat when he was trying to get it into the tank. When we got to Cochabamba, there was a tunnel of trees, and it was like the tunnel to paradise. We were so excited. We'd go through this tunnel, and we knew that on the other side there'd be these beautiful old buildings, and even better than that, there was swimming. Oh, and that's what we really loved, at least us Highlanders who never got to swim up in La Paz, for example, or certainly in Oruro or in Huarizata and Carabuco.
Hermosa tierra payuna, de verdor incomparable, tienen tus noches de luna un encanto inigualable. Y si de nuevo algún día me alejo de ti, oh Tunari, no te olvides, tierra mía, desde mi Taquirari. Y si de nuevo algún día me alejo de ti, oh Tunari, no te olvides, tierra mía, desde humilde Taquirari. El río Rocha Turbión pinta tu hermoso verdor, pueblo que eres de Bolivia, su dicha y su corazón. El río Rocha Turbión.
One thing about amazing thing, what I call the hardcore missionaries of my era, we all had our opinions and we all expressed them, but when it crisis, we ganged together like a pack of wolves, and we knew that all we had to do was just say, I need you, and we come.
Y si de nuevo algún día me alejo de ti, oh Tunari, no te olvides, tierra mía, desde humilde Taquirari. Y si de nuevo algún día me alejo de ti, oh Tunari, no te olvides, tierra mía, desde humilde Taquirari. El río Rocha Turbión pinta tu hermoso verdor, pueblo que eres de Bolivia, su dicha y su corazón. El río Rocha Turbión pinta tu hermoso verdor, pueblo que eres de Bolivia, su dicha y su corazón. Pueblo que eres de Bolivia, su dicha y su corazón.
I think that something about it is makes you understand God's creation more. You become more a part of the universe. You have a greater concept
really wanted in
God's purpose.
You know what's interesting, Nova? I came to realize a few years ago that it wasn't the English I taught. It was the human relations. Those are the things that mattered and lasted.
But don't forget, the seed's there. I don't care how bad the soil is. The seeds are there, and they will grow. And that's what I kept remembering at Mary Lee's funeral. It was all like a wonderful, wonderful dream with terrible nightmares too. And I think that's the one thing that we learned was being still loved and loving. You know, that's what Christianity is all about. It's just, I guess you really learn to be a Christian.
Con amor. Alistar esos pañuelitos. Adentro. Viva mi patria Bolivia, una gran nación. Por ella doy mi vida, también mi corazón. Por ella doy mi vida, también mi corazón. Esta canción que yo canto la brindo con amor a mi patria Bolivia, que quiero con pasión. A mi patria Bolivia, que quiero con pasión. La llevo en mi corazón y le doy mi inspiración. Tierra, mi patria Bolivia, como la quiero yo. Tierra, mi patria Bolivia, como la quiero yo. Ay, la 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 la, ay, la 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 la, ay, la 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 la, ay, la 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 la. Tierra, mi patria Bolivia, como la quiero yo. A la segundita, mi alma. Tierra, mi patria Bolivia, como la quiero yo. Tierra, mi patria Bolivia, como la quiero yo. Ay, la 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 la, ay, la 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 la, ay, la 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 la, ay, la 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 la. Tierra, mi patria Bolivia, como la quiero yo. A mi palomita se la han robado 4 forasteros. A ver si puedo rescatarla con 4 rifleros. A mi palomita se la han robado 4 forasteros. A ver si puedo rescatarla con 4 rifleros. Fuerzas sí, fuerzas no, chicharrilla guaypidita. Para fuerzas basto yo, no tacanayita. Fuerzas sí, fuerzas no, chicharrilla guaypidita. Para fuerzas basto yo, no tacanayita. Charquita
agüita, loco tu canquita con su quilquiñita, chaipatita, pita, tu majeta, ¿qué tal gustituta? Chanqueta, casqueta con su chuyagüita, loco tu canquita con su quilquiñita, chaipatita, pita, tu majeta, ¿qué tal gustituta? Falta poco para irme de este pueblo tan querido. Falta poco para irme de este pueblo tan querido. Ay, me vi haciendo setas por la cuesta. Ay, me vi haciendo setas por la cuesta. Ya me voy, ya me estoy yendo. Sabe Dios si volveré. Ya me voy, ya me estoy yendo. Sabe Dios si volveré. Ay, me vi haciendo setas por la cuesta. Ay, me vi haciendo setas por la cuesta. 1, 2 y 3, 4 y 5 y 6, 6 de la mañana cantaremos la cacharpa ya. 1, 2 y 3, 4 y 5 y 6, 6 de la mañana cantaremos la cacharpa.